You're listening to Lighting Up Real Estate with your host, Kendall Lockett.
If you're planning to purchase your first property or first home in 2021, you are going to need credit as a part of your financial power. Credit allows you to use other people's money instead of your own. In episode 3 of Lighting Up Real Estate, CEO of HTP Enterprises Financial, Nicholas Antoine, shared his credit secrets. Now let his company help you build wealth with credit. HTP Enterprises Financial is the company that will improve your scores by erasing negative items, bankruptcies, delinquencies, and more. I'm a personal client of HTP Enterprises Financial and have referred my clients and friends to this company. You get results. So I partnered with HTP Enterprises Financial to offer my listeners $100 off any plan you choose. Just go to the link in the show notes using promo code LightingUpRealEstate. Make 2021 the year you use credit as buying power. Episode 33, The Mindset of a Real Estate Investor. As always, the goal of the show is to shine a light on people, strategies, systems, and ideas to help grow your real estate investing business. On the show, I have certified coach and mind strategist, Martin Perdomo. This entire interview is dedicated to getting past the barriers that are holding you back from reaching your goals, and it all starts with your mind. In this interview, you will see Martin in his true calling as a coach, passionate about helping you and me be our best selves in 2021. He gives you daily tools to get over generational curses, fears, negative people, the mindset of a lack of money, and how we can start investing today, build our self-confidence, and so much more. Let's get started. Martin, welcome to Lighting Up Real Estate.
Hey, thank you for having me, Kendall. Really appreciate you, my dear.
Oh, no, it's an honor to have you on the show today. I was invited to be on your podcast, and once I got through talking to you, I'm like, I need him on mine because you have so much information that you just share just effortlessly. And I definitely want to talk to you about the mindset of a real estate investor. Okay, so let's go back. How did you get started in real estate investing?
Oh, that's an interesting story. So it goes back a long ways, right? And when I first fell in love with real estate was when I was 16. I know you fell in love with you learned real estate at 8. I started at 16. Well, that's when I first fell in love with it. And here's we're going to talk about mindset in a little bit here. Here's what happens with most human beings, and I'm no different than any other human being. Pain is usually what causes change, right? It's pain that causes people, let me rephrase that. It's actual pain that causes permanent change. When there's not enough pain, there's not permanent change. It could be temporary change, but it's not permanent change. So when I was 16, my mom, I used to live in New York City. I was born and raised in New York City. And my mom put me out at 16 because I didn't want to follow the rules. And on my 16th birthday, so I want your listeners to picture this. On my 16th birthday, I come home after school, and my mom wanted me to be home, I don't know, 3 or 4 o'clock. I don't remember the time. I know she wanted me to be home at a certain time. By this time, she's kicked me out 9 times, right? And she's like, you got to be home at whatever time. Instead of listening to the rules of what my mom laid down, I decided to go get a haircut, right? I got home, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock or whatever it was. So I remember that was my birthday. It was my 16th birthday. And I come home, my mom's standing at the door. She's like, that's it. Get out. You don't want to listen to my rules. Get out, right? So I remember looking at my mom and saying, that's the last time you can kick me out. I'm not coming back. But here's what happened, Kendall. Shortly after that, I was sleeping in trains. I was sleeping in rooftops in New York City. I was sleeping in Rockaway Beach. Your listeners know the beach, Rockaway Beach in Queens. And I quickly, unconsciously made a decision that I was going to own a lot of real estate and that I needed money. I really quickly found out I needed money and I needed a place to live. Those were 2 essential things. But because of that pain of sleeping in the train, luckily it was a summer. My birthday's in June. But it was a summer, so I was sleeping on the beach. I was sleeping in trains. I was sleeping in rooftops and in parks. I quickly, unconsciously made a decision that I was going to buy a lot of real estate so I'd never ever have to experience not having shelter again. Now, this was an unconscious decision, and we all make unconscious decisions due to experiences, usually painful experiences in our life. And a lot of us make decisions around our love life, around money, around whatever, right? A lot of experiences. So that was when I first unconsciously fell in love with real estate. But I'm going to fast forward. In 2007, I bought my first piece of real estate. Actually, no, I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 21 and 22. My wife was 22, I was 21, and we bought our first piece of real estate then. But I bought my first investment in 2007. It was a duplex, and that duplex I bought, Candle, I did it because everyone else was doing it. I was in the mortgage game, and similar to this market, everyone loves real estate. Everyone wants to do real estate.
Right.
Similar to this market, I got in the game because everyone else was doing it. And you keep hearing that 90% of millionaires are made through real estate, blah, 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 and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
The thing that we missed, that I was missing like most, is that I didn't have the skill set, similar to kind of what you did in 2007 when we talked.
Right.
I didn't have the skill set. So I was playing Mr. Landlord. So I bought my first duplex. I bought it for $275,000. I made, because I was a lender, I structured the deal in such a way that I bought the house, zero money down. At the table, I got $15,000 paid to me. So I bought a house that was cash flowing, and I made $15,000. Great strategy. But I did not know my numbers. I did not know how to run the numbers. I did not have the education. I just bought it because everyone else was doing it. And I was, I guess unconsciously, I was banking on continued appreciation. And I had this limiting belief. I had this limiting scarcity mindset of, if I don't buy, there's not going to be any more real estate. And I reject that from your listeners, because that's a scarcity mindset. At the time when real estate is hot, that's what happens. And that's what's happening right now all over again, as you know.
Yeah.
So fast forward a year later, I was $100,000 underwater on that property. Right. So that was 2007. I'm sorry, about 2 years later, two and a half years later, I got someone to come and look at it, and an agent to come look at it, tell me what it's worth. And they said $179,000. I was like, whoa, $100,000. But one of my values is integrity. One of my highest values is integrity. And while people were walking away and losing houses, I wasn't going to do that. That's one of my highest values. I was not going to do that. And I said to myself, I did this. This is just what I did. I'm going to write it out. I'm going to make it work. It is what it is. This was my decision. I'm not going to walk away. But anyways, I had a really bad struggle. I was struggling because I was playing Mr. Landlord. I was showing the property, painting it, rehabbing. I remember taking my little kids, like your parents used to, taking my little kids over, let's paint, let's do this, let's take out the garbage. When I was turning the unit, and that, I gotta tell you, that was a terrible job. I was a terrible experience for me. It was a horrible, horrible experience for me. I had an internal struggle, and part of my struggle was that I used to think that before I bought my first piece of real estate, I used to think that people that own real estate didn't look like me, right? Because growing up in New York City in an apartment building, I had this mindset of, these people that own real estate are Hasidic Jews, and I have a lot of friends that are Hasidic Jews and are Jewish people, are Hasidic Jews, and those are people that own real estate in the hood, right, where I grew up.
Right.
So what did I know? So I had this limiting belief that people, were doctors, lawyers, or whatever story I was telling myself, which was just a big old story, right?
Right.
But after I bought my first property and I got burned again, right? Because it's always, like I said, pain is what causes change.
Right.
I was looking around at people like you, for instance, right, today, that, hey, man, they're doing it, and they're doing this game, and they're doing it without doing what I'm doing, right? They're not going to the properties. They're not doing all this stuff. They're not painting. They're not taking the garbage out. They're not doing all of that stuff. But yet I'm an entrepreneur, so-called an entrepreneur. And so let me show you this. I had a guy, his name was Jay. I met Jay, and he had called me because he wanted a loan, and he owned a bunch of properties, and he had a full-time job. Okay, he had a full-time job at Verizon. And I was like, dude, he had 2 kids and a wife and a beautiful house and all this property. And I was like, yo, bro, how the hell are you
Yeah.
doing this and you have a full-time job. And I don't have a full-time job. I'm an entrepreneur and I have freedom of my time and all this stuff. And I can't do it like you. And what I quickly
Mhm.
realized is that he had something that I didn't have. He had an education about investing and he had a system, right? And he wasn't playing Mr. Landlord. He was a business
Yeah.
owner. See, there's a difference with business owner and business operator. And I was
Yeah.
being Mr. Everything, and he was not. So I got a mentor, I got a coach. He started mentoring, he coaching me. I started getting an education. By the way, that property burned down. That property I used to rent to college kids. They burned it down to the ground, and that's how I was able to get out of that property in 2012 or 13.
Uh-huh.
That's how I was able to get out of that property. So it worked itself out. But I wasn't gonna walk away or bail from it in any way. I was sticking with it. Yeah, I had that's how I learned. So I quickly learned how to that was an epiphany I had that I needed to figure it out. I needed to figure it out. But even still, I had a conflict, and my conflict was the story that we all tell ourselves. And you as a coach and a mentor, when you're first starting on in real estate, and when your listeners listening right now, well, that's great. Mark, you're doing that and all this, and Candle's doing that, but I don't have any money. That's the I don't have any money story, right? And I'm gonna tell you
That is
right
the most common story we hear. We don't
now,
have any money.
I don't have
Yeah.
any money. I don't have any money. And I'm gonna challenge your listeners to say and to ask them, who says that it has to be your money? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Ask yourself that question. Who says it has to be? Where does it say anywhere, a rule of law that says it has to be your money? There is no rule of law. What you need is a skill set. What you need is to educate yourself. What you need to do is learn the business. But anyways, that's what I did. But I had that story. I don't have any money. I got educated. I had a coach, and I didn't have any money. That was my story, like a lot of my
Mhm.
students' story. And I asked them the same question: who says this needs to be your money, right?
Yeah.
But I overcame that by educating myself, by networking, by listening to podcasts like yours,
Hmm.
by showing up to meetups, which is why I host the meetups, real estate investors meetups now, because I'm about educating and helping and empowering. That's my purpose, is to empower others to be their best versions, right, and to achieve. And got into these circles and started understanding from other investors, more seasoned investors, that they don't use their money. I don't use my money. I don't use my money. If the numbers don't work with someone else's money and giving an investor a return, or if I use my own money, I would treat
Hmm.
myself as OPM, other people's money, because I am OPM. Me personally am different than my business. So I would pay
Hmm.
myself a return on my money, whatever money I lend my business, just like I would you. If me and you did a deal, I said, hey, Candle, I want to give you 10% return on your money. If you lend me this money for a flip, I'm gonna give it back to you in 6 months. If I don't give it back to you in 6 months, we're partners, or whatever I negotiate with you, right?
Right.
But guess what? I do the same thing for myself. If it's my own money I'm using, same deal for myself. Whatever I would give any of my investors, I give myself, right? And just the
Right.
numbers got to work. If they don't work, they just don't. There's no deal,
Right.
right?
Okay. So you say that success is 80% mindset and
Hmm.
20% skill.
Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
get into the mindset. So that was big what you just said. It was a lot that we got to definitely go through what you said. I have so
Hmm.
many questions, but what you just said about using other people's money.
Yep, that's a mindset.
That's a mindset. Everybody can't do that unless you have a certain mindset. So what are the 5 rules, or like what you must do in your mind to be able to handle other people's money in order for you to make money, and it's a win-win situation? Because I hear so many stories, especially from investors, where they've been a guest on my show and they've said, oh, I don't fool with other people. I've been burned because of that person. And it's like everybody can't handle that. So it's a definite level of discipline. But can you get into that?
Absolutely, absolutely. As I shared earlier, right? One of my highest values is integrity, right?
Hmm.
So the person that you're investing with matters. Best illustration I can give you is this, right? If you have a cousin and your cousin is a person that is always jumping from one deal to another thing, to another business scheme, to another thing, to another thing, and now they come to you and they're like, well, I just learned this real estate thing and I want to do this real estate thing, right? I just learned this real estate thing. I want to do this real estate thing. Could you give me some of your money? Are you going to give them your money?
No.
Probably not, right? So that's discernment, right? That's discernment on the receiver
Mhm.
side, on the person giving the money, right? On the person giving the money, that's discernment. But if you're on our side as the investor seeking money, okay,
Mhm.
there's a few things that you have to do. The first thing is it's a mindset, right? It's a mindset. And I have a formula that I teach, and it's confidence plus competence. The second word is competence.
Mm.
Confidence plus competence plus massive action equals results. Okay.
Mhm.
Confidence, it's a mindset, number one. And how do you get confidence? You get confidence in real estate. And I'm going to just talk about real estate right now. But this also applies for other areas in your life. When I talk about real estate, how do you get confidence is by first becoming competent. You told me when I interviewed you that you went and you studied everything you could about real estate. I mean, you
Yeah.
just fell in love with real estate. You went courses, this and that, and you got competent,
Right.
number one. That competence then created confidence.
Mhm.
Because when you're talking to me now, if once you have all that knowledge and you sit down with me as an investor, someone that has money, an investor that has money that wants to invest, and you're talking that language with so much, you have so much confidence, and you talk about value add, and you understand the business, and you understand how this one move that I do, right? This
Mhm.
one move that I do, if hey, look, I'm gonna take this apartment building, and I'm gonna take this apartment, and I'm gonna put 13,000. This is a real deal. I think I talked to you about it the other day. Take this apartment, I'm gonna put 13,000 in it. And then I'm gonna rent it for this new rent, and that difference in rent is gonna
Mhm.
increase the value of that apartment building by $55,000. That's competence. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? That's competence. And because of that, I'm going to be able to give you a certain return on your money. And here's how, because of this move. Okay.
Right.
Now you're saying, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, right? So competence, confidence, then you go and you take action. So then go and start talking to investors and start talking, but you can't start talking to people, guys, unless you first really get yourself educated and really understand this language. People like Kendall and I are people that teach this stuff, but the only reason we teach this stuff is because we learned this stuff, and we are in seminars
Yeah.
and we're in workshops and we're in this and we're in that. Like, I'm in 2 to 4 workshops. I mean, total immersion real estate workshops or personal development workshops a year. Every
Mhm.
year, I'm going away somewhere just to get better, either my mindset, either my business, just to get better. Period. So there's something that I have is called a credibility booklet, and in that booklet, I give it to my students, and it's just a breakdown of the presentation of the person, right? Who am I? So here's who I am. Here's my little bio. Here's the
Yeah.
markets I'm after, and here's why I'm going after these markets, because
Mhm.
unemployment rate is low, because population growth is growing. Here's the
Mhm.
median rental income, and here's 2 of my projects that I've done before.
Mhm.
Let me tell you why that's important. Again, and this is a little bit more advanced. If you got really newbies, right,
Mhm.
still need to I would create a credibility booklet, right? A credibility booklet like this, because it's something organized telling your new investor why they should invest with you. I'm
Yeah.
investing in, this is why you should invest. This is my strategy. I'm buying, fixing, and flipping. I'm buying and holding. I'm buying and holding because in this market, because of this, boom, boom, unemployment is low, population is growth. There's this, Amazon is going in here. Here's what's happened. What does that tell someone? If you are presenting to an investor, what does that tell that investor? This guy knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
This guy's really
Yeah.
competent,
Yeah.
comfortable giving my money there. So, guys, the first thing is get educated. That education is going to give you confidence. Then go and take action, right? Because I'll tell you another thing is a lot of us get confused with listening to a podcast or doing a credibility booklet or going to a workshop or going to a meetup as action. That's education. That's not execution, right? And I shared this with you the other day.
Can you repeat that again? Repeat what you just said.
that is not execution.
Yeah.
That's just education. You're learning, and there comes a point where you got to stop learning and start doing. Not stop learning, but you got to start doing. You got to continue learning, but you
Yeah.
got to start doing stuff in
Yeah.
that business to take action. We live in the information age, and I shared this with you the other day. We live in the information age, and people are drowning in information and starving of execution. Find one thing that you want to
Mhm.
do in this space. Get good at it. Get competent on it. get your confidence up, and go take massive action. And I promise you, if you do that, you're going to have results on the other end.
What's keeping us from taking massive action?
Our limiting beliefs.
This is
Plain and
still
simple.
going back to limited live.
It's always in the mindset. It's our limiting belief. So a lot of times is self-sabotage. Okay. We self-sabotage. Actually, we say we want to be successful, but unconsciously, we really don't. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that, right? So I'm a mindset strategist, right? I'm a real estate investor, but I'm also a certified mindset strategist, right?
Right.
And what happens is this. Let's just say, and a lot of us in the Latino and the African American culture, we grow up in homes. Okay, I'll tell you, I grew up in my home like this, and this is what we hear: rich people are bad.
Oh yeah.
Rich people, they live in those great big mansions, and they just use us for work, and they just give us little crumbs or whatever stories. Right? I heard all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is being indoctrinated in you as a youth, as in your most vulnerable ages, between 0 and 6. Not you're a young person, and you're hearing that rich people are bad, right? You're hearing rich people are bad, and now you're an adult, and you realize, man, I need money, right? Like me, right? I need money. I need money. I need a place to live. I need to have investments. I don't want to be working like this. This doesn't work. We all know that having a job doesn't really work, because we look at our grandparents and we look at our parents, and they worked all their life and they're on Social Security and they're poor.
Right. But there was that mindset that it was consistent pay.
Yes. So I want to talk about that. So just hold that thought, because I want to talk about that. I want to talk about generational curses. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about generational curses around money, right? And things like this, which is all kind of falls into this. So you grow up listening to this stuff. You grow up listening to, rich people are bad. Now you're an adult, you have a family, and you're like, man, this real estate thing, this guy, this Martin guy, this candle lady, they're really sharp. How are they doing that, right? They look like me, right? If you're brown or you're black, you're looking at us, you're saying they look like, well, you could do it. It doesn't matter the color. If I could do it, you could do it. And that's always been my attitude. If anyone else can do it, that I can do it. I just got to figure it out. They just know something and are doing something that I don't know yet, or I haven't figured out yet, or they think a certain way, or they're doing something a certain way. I just got to figure out that. Once I figure out that, then I'm going to go take action. But anyways, you go and you learn, you get this condition from a young person. Now you're an adult, you need money. You're like, great, I need to learn this real estate thing. I'm going to learn this real estate thing. And now you listen to your podcast, Candace, you listen to my podcast, you go to these seminars and all these stuff, and you got the education, and you're getting more education, and you're getting more education, and you know it works. You see people doing it and it works. Yet you're not getting, that person's not taking action. And here's what's happening with that person unconsciously. Unconsciously, if you start making money, your unconscious mind is telling you, remember, this is all happening unconscious, by the way. This is not a conscious thought. This is an unconscious thought. Remember what you were taught. Rich people are bad.
Yeah.
Remember what you were taught. Rich people are bad. If you start doing these things, you start making a lot of money, you become a bad person. Now, this happens unconsciously, not consciously. Okay, so it's not like it's happening. It's right there in your eyes. So what you start doing is you start doing stuff to unconsciously to self-sabotage, not take action. You start having all these limiting thoughts. I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm brown, I'm that, I'm what, but whatever BS story you want to tell yourself, your unconscious mind starts telling you stories. And that's what holds us back. So it's getting to the root. I'm going to use this analogy. It's like, think of a fruit. Think of an orange tree. The fruit, right? The orange fruit. If you want to grow oranges, what do you have to plant, right? You have to plant orange seeds, right?
In the ground,
and then you get orange fruits. So a lot of us, what we need to do is we need to change the root. So before you start, like, I want to be an investor and I want to make $300,000 a year, or I want to own 100 apartments, you must first work on yourself, on your mindset. What is my belief around money? You got to work on you. You got to work on you. Change. You got to first, and I'm gonna say this. You got to first change the root, plant new seeds, and then water those so you can have a different fruit. Because if you keep doing the same things and expect different results, that's insanity, Albert Einstein said.
Yeah.
Keep thinking the same way and expect different results. That's insanity. You keep doing the same things and expect different results. That's insanity. So you got to start seeing money. You got to start seeing investments. You got to start, if that's what you heard, and I reject this for your listeners and myself, if that's what you heard, that rich people are bad, then you need to start changing that perspective and start getting around some rich people so you can really see they're not bad. They're good, kind people.
Yeah.
Right? Without rich people, there wouldn't be no YMCAs. There wouldn't be no hospitals. There wouldn't be no charity. There wouldn't be all these things.
Yeah.
They just figured something out that you don't. And they have a different mindset around money that you don't. And I'll share, not every rich person, this is what we hear a lot of time. Rich people, they got it handed to them. Not every rich person got it handed to them. Some have. Not every rich person got it
Not
handed to
everybody. Yeah.
them. A rich person had to work hard.
Yeah.
Right? Work on themselves. So change the fruit. In order to get a different fruit, change the root. Start planting different seeds.
That's good. That's good. So how do we get out of these generational curses? Because we talked yesterday on your podcast, and one thing that we talked about was who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
So how do we get around those family members? Because we all have those that are afraid. I remember, like, my degree is in education. And I remember being so afraid to tell my mother that I had my real estate license. Like, she found out through Facebook. I didn't want to tell her.
Oh boy.
Because I knew, I was like, she's not going to support me. She's not going to be like, oh my gosh, congratulations. You're going to be the top agent. Let's go get some more properties. It wasn't going to be that conversation. So what do you recommend for those that are not around investors, or the first one in their family that says, hey, I want to be an investor. I want to own a house. I just want to do something different with my life than what everybody else I'm surrounding myself with does.
Okay, that's a great question. And that's a question that I get often anytime I'm speaking or training or coaching. I get that question asked all the time, right? So you take your top five closest friends, you average their income, and you're not going to make a cent over what they're making. You take your top five closest people that you talk to and you average their income, you're not going to make a cent over what they're making. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, please. I'm just calling facts here. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're hanging around people that are making $50,000, $60,000 a year, and those are your top five closest friends, this is what they're making. All right. The conversations are in those groups and the ideas are of $50,000, $60,000 income earners. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. I just want you to know that there's nothing wrong with that. Your job is to level up. If you want to, if that's your desire, if you're desirous of that, is to level up. If improving your income is what you desire, then you have to figure out how to level up. So the question always comes up with, well, how do I do that, Martin? My job. This is what I do. And I'm going to answer that question. But before I answer that question, I'm going to share a quick story with you. When I was about 23 years old, I was selling life insurance for a big insurance company in New York City. I had started there when I was 20 years old, started in sales as a professional sales guy at 20 years old, selling life insurance. And by the time I was 24, I already had 4 kids, right? My wife was pregnant with my 4th child. With our 4th child. And I remember my first year as a salesman, I made $48,000 in 6 months. At 20 years old, I was feeling rich, girl. Like I was coming from, that's the equivalent of making 100 grand, right? So I was coming from making $10 an hour at work in Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever, right? I was working at Bed Bath, Bed Body Works, whatever, to $48,000 in 6 months, right?
Right.
But I hit my ceiling because it happened in 6 months, and I felt so wealthy. I hit my thermometer, my cap. So it's like a thermometer. You have a ceiling on money. Think of a thermometer. You put a thermometer at 70. What happens when the temperature, if it's on heat and you put it at 70, what happens when you go above 70? The thermometer turns off.
Right.
Until it goes back down. So your mind turns off, your unconscious mind stops hustling, stops working until it goes back down to what you're comfortable in, right?
Right.
And then this is a form of self-sabotage because you set a thermometer, right? And boom. So the following year I made 50,000 in the whole year. So my thermometer, my thermostat was set at 50, right? The following year I made 50, the following year I made 50, but when you got 4 kids and you got a house and you're making 50 grand, dude, it don't take you far. You're broke.
Right.
You're broke, right? And I remember one day going to one of the sales meetings, and there was this guy. His name was Harry Ganes. I always talk about Harry at different podcasts. My podcast. We're still friends, and I go to this place. I go to this meeting that the general manager was having, and let me tell you, Harry came on. Harry was bought by my first mentor, which his name was Titus. And
Mm-hmm.
Titus used to work at another company. He came on and he was lighting it up. I mean, he was killing it in sales. But when you're young, you have an ego. You think you have it all figured out. I'm not going to ask for help. I got it. I'm good. Whatever, right? Well, he brought Harry along. And let me tell you something. Harry was writing in life insurance sales $70,000 a month in commission consistently. Okay? Consistently.
Oh.
And let me tell you something about this guy. You could hardly understand his English. Okay. He was nothing special. And we were working in the same city for the same company, selling the same products. What's the difference? How is he making $70,000 a month in commission? I'm making struggling $50,000 a year, right? He's talking and he's doing a presentation and he's telling us what he's doing. So I go to him at the end. I finally put my ego down. We go back to our office in the city in New York City. Finally, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to ask because I'm just pain. What did I say at the beginning? Pain is the only thing that causes permanent change.
Mm-hmm.
I was so tired of being broke and that my ego was time to let go of the ego. So I go to Harry. When we get back to our office, I go to Harry and I said, Harry, man, listen, how are you doing this, man? Like, listen, just tell me, can you tell me, how do you do this? How are you like making 70 grand a month? We sell the same product, working for the same city, in the same company. You're making 70 grand a month and I'm making freaking 50,000 a year. How is that possible, bro? And he asked me, he looked at me and he said, do you really want to know? Or you just want to make conversation? Because I don't have time for conversation. I said, no, Harry, I really want to know. I was 23 years old. And he goes, we spent about an hour. He spent about an hour mentoring me, but he gave me one thing. He said, go pick up this book. He said, the book is and I'm going to give this to your listener. Go pick up this book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz.
I have that book. Yeah.
That book changed my life. That was where my whole trajectory, personal development, everything changed for me. My whole life changed after reading that book.
Yeah.
I went immediately because I was in pain, because I was tired of being broke, because I was in pain. Only pain causes, true pain causes, that's the lever for change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I jumped on the train, went over to Barnes and Nobles. I don't know if they're still around. It was on 66th Street in New York City. I don't know if that place is still around. But I went in and I picked up the book. And here's what happened.
Yeah.
After reading that book, because I really took it to heart and I really was in so much pain. After reading that book, Candle, over the next 12 months, I went from making and averaging the previous 3 or 4 years, averaging $40,000 or $50,000 a year. And my dream was to make 6 figures.
Mm-hmm.
I made at 24, the first time I made $104,000 in the next 12 months. Right.
Wow.
At 24 years old, I made 6 figures after reading that book. But it wasn't just reading that book. It was taking action. Remember I said confidence, competence.
Exactly.
So I applied the principles I got in the book, from the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied the principles that I learned from the book. And that one move, that's when I realized how education, working on my mindset, right, will change my exterior world.
Yeah.
It was then. But to answer your original question, that's the first thing is you need to work on yourself, right? That's the first thing. If you don't have the circle, you got to get some books, get some mentors with books, right? Read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That's a must.
It is a must.
It's a must. The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. That's another must, right? Because that just starts to shift your mindset, understanding how thinking bigger is important. I didn't have that. I grew up seeing my mom working in a factory. What I was taught was work harder, work hard. That's how you succeed. Work hard. Let me tell you, working hard alone doesn't work. If you're working hard, making it $10 an hour to get overtime and make $15 an hour when you do overtime, it's not going to get you very far. It's working smart and hard.
Yeah.
It's working smart and hard, leveraging other people, leveraging your time, leveraging other people's money.
Yeah. Martin, you mentioned telling that great story about you moved your ego away to talk to him.
Hmm.
What do you define ego as? And then what is the difference between ego and that self-confidence that we need?
Oh, that is a great question. That is a
Yeah.
great question. So for me, and people have different meanings, the ego is that part of you that thinks is better, thinks you have it all figured out, thinks that I don't need other people's help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's putting that aside, right? And confidence for me is being confident enough to say, hey, I don't know this and I need help. Hey, I don't
Ah.
know this. That's not my strength. So I'm going to bring
Mm-hmm.
someone in my team to handle that. I'm not a contractor. I don't know how to swing. I don't swing hammers, right? But guess what I do have? I have contractors in my team. Guess what I'm not good at? I'm not a property manager. I don't like to deal with my tenants. My tenants, I shared with you yesterday, my tenants don't even think, some of them know who I am because they see me around, but not because I tell them. I used to, so
Yeah.
that property I bought at the beginning when I told you 2007, I was so
Yeah.
ego driven. I shared this with you yesterday. I was so ego driven that it was all about, I own this property, I own that property, and I want to tell the world that I own properties. Now, as I've gotten older, the ego, that doesn't matter to me. It's about the results. It's about the outcome. I'm committed more to my goals than I am
Awesome.
to my ego. So when you are committed more to your goals than you are to your ego, then it's humbling. So then that's when you say, okay, then I'll spend money on a coach to learn from. Then I'll go to a seminar and spend or $3,000 for a 3 or 4 week seminar to go learn
Yeah.
from others, to be around others, to learn from people doing it even better than me,
Yeah.
right? And that's, in a way, it's confidence, right? To be able to say, hey, Kendall, you know what? That I noticed that this is your strength. Why don't we team up
Mm-hmm.
and you can teach me how to do that, or we team up and you run that part of this. So let's do this thing and you do this part because you're really good at that. Right? No,
Yeah.
ego is just getting results, right? When you start focusing on your outcome is what you focus on. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows and results show. In results, there's no room for ego. Right? In my
That's true.
in getting my goals, there is no room for ego. There's only
Yeah.
room to achieve. There's only room to figure out how to get to that goal. And
Yeah.
that means, hey man, if someone on my team, if you have to act, if you have to be the big dog when it comes to that, then you be it, man. I'll follow. Tell me what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that, so show me. What do I need to do there?
That is good. That
Right?
that is good.
That's confidence, right? That's real
Yeah.
confidence. And that's not taking away from who I am. That's not because I'm not in control or I'm not the big boss all the time in whatever I'm doing or whatever lane I'm playing in. That doesn't make me any different. I'm still very secure in who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm going, because ultimately it's about my goal. For me, it's about legacy, it's about generational wealth, it's about empowering others, it's about impact, it's about the mark I leave on this world. Is about when I'm writing a book, and as I'm writing my book, my thought and my mindset around my book is when my great grandchildren read this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can it impact and change their life? How can one thing I write here impact my great grandchildren? So I am doing it as I'm writing my book. I'm writing it for with so much love and passion for my own bloodline, right? And if I do it like that with so much blood and passion for my own bloodline to impact future generations, what is it going to do for strangers? Because I'm
Yeah.
pouring my love and my heart into it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm pouring it all into it.
I do.
When I look at, my purpose, I'm so clear on my purpose and my goal in life. There's no room for ego. There's only room for achieving that, whatever it takes.
Yeah. So what you just said, you just explained your why.
Yep.
And I notice a lot of my guests, when they come on, they have no problem explaining their why. It's like it's their motto, it's what they live by, it's their breed, it's their
My mission.
code.
Yes, my code. Integrity, my values are,
Yeah.
integrity, health, power. I mean, it's just, yep.
So how do you find your why? And why is it important?
Dude, listen. So every year I host a goal setting event
Hmm.
seminar where I bring in people to just, hey, let's goal set. Let me show you how to set goals. And the very, very first thing I do is get to people's why. Why? do you want this? Right. So let's just say,
Yeah.
right, first thing I do, let me give you an example. First thing I do when I'm coaching someone, or I'm even hosting these events, and I'm hosting my goal setting event, is I'll go into the why, because the why is the lever. Remember, pain pain is what? The only thing that causes change. Your why is your lever to your goals. In life, there will be challenges. In life, you will have challenges. And
Hmm.
when you encounter those challenges, if your why is not strong enough, you'll give up on your goals. It's easy to say,
Yeah.
forget it's too hard, this came up, blah, blah, blah. Again, why one of the reasons of having a coach is extremely important, because a coach holds you accountable to that, holds you accountable to your goals. Hey, this is what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But your why, right? If I was to ask someone comes and works with me and they're like, well, I want to be a real estate investor and I want to make whatever, $200,000 a year flipping or whatever their goal is. I want to own $2,500 in cash flow every month. That's financial freedom for me,
Right.
right? First thing I say is, why do you want that? Why? No, it's not why do you want that. Why is that important to you? Right?
Mm.
And they will say something like, because it's going to give me, I can pay for my bills, right? Or I can have time, right? And I'll say,
Right.
why is having time more important to you, right? And they'll say,
Right.
well, because I could go and take vacation with my family, right? And here's what happens. Most people think that they want to invest in real estate because of the money.
Yeah.
They think that's the why. But once it's strategically done, and when I work with them and I go 7 levels deep and I ask this question, why is that important to you? 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 By the time I get to the 7th level of why that, whatever that is important to you, is so disconnected from actually real estate that it's insane. And that's usually the true why.
Wow.
I'll tell you what
Uh-huh.
that looks like. What that looks like is usually something like, well, I want to buy real estate because that's important to me, because I saw my mother waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting us dressed to take us to a babysitter to go work at a factory. And we were poor and we were broke and we would share a twin size bed. And that, my dear, you see that? That's the lever. That's a
That's
true
the
why.
lever.
That's the
Hmm.
lever right there. That's the
Yeah.
lever right there. That right there. That was my 7 levels deep why, by the way.
Yeah.
Once you understand and that light bulb goes up, wait a minute, it has really nothing to do with real estate. It's because I don't want to experience what I experienced and I saw my mom
The
doing.
pain.
The pain. That right there is your lever. Once you
Yeah.
understand that, and then there's a strategy I do because I'm a mindset strategist, and I understand their true why, that true pain,
Hmm.
and I link that why to their goal, there's nothing that's going to stop them to overcome anything that comes up. Once I take that and I figure that piece out of the puzzle, then I say,
Hmm.
okay, what do you want? 100 doors? Okay, here's some of the things that's gonna occur to you along the way. You're gonna have to find investors. You're gonna have to do this. You're gonna have to make offers. You're gonna have to take out. You have to do all of these things, and you're gonna have some challenges along the way. When those challenges come, just remember why you're doing that. Remember that sleeping in that twin size bed. Remember waking up every
Wow.
morning. Remember that. Once you remember that, whatever you encounter, you're gonna plow right through it. Once you put that in your nervous system and your unconscious mind, and you connect it to, it's over.
Yeah.
You're just going nothing.
Going.
No, no rejection, no this. You get resourceful and you figure it out,
Hmm. Wow.
right? You
That's,
get resourceful and you figure it out. But you got to figure out your why. Your why is it is the most, it's like getting pulled. It's getting
hmm
pulled towards your goals, or getting pushed towards your goals. You want to get pulled towards your goals. When you don't
hmm
know your why, you're getting pushed towards your goals. When you're not, that's clarity. Clarity is power. When you know your why, you're getting pulled because you know why you're doing it. It's pulling you. Your
Yeah.
goal is pulling you. When you don't know your why and you have a goal, you're getting pushed. You don't really know.
Hmm.
You don't really know, well, I want this, but you don't really fundamentally deep down inside know why you want, unless you take the time to do the work. This is why I said you got to work on the seeds first,
Yeah. Yeah.
putting new seeds in there.
Yeah. So how do you get over like past experiences of being in real estate investing? Let's say you were really hurt by the 2008 crash. and you want to get back into it, but it's like, I just can't get over it. I can't get over how that person burned me or how that deal was so bad. But also on the other side of that is your key to wealth.
Again, that's a really good question. I know a lot of people that haven't been able to come back from 2008, and it's going to go right back to mindset. It is what is your why? See what I said about overcoming the obstacles? Is your why stronger than the obstacle, right? And my question is, if someone was to ask me that question, I would say to them, do you think that those that are succeeding haven't had any trouble, haven't been burned, haven't lost money, haven't had any challenges? The difference is they are very clear on their why they're doing it. And what they do is they figure it out, and they don't let the stumbling blocks, right? They don't let the stumbling blocks stop them from going towards their goal. I'm going to share a story with you, if that's okay. I'm going to use this as a metaphor. And to answer that question, I want you to picture this, okay? Once upon a time, there is this really wise old African man that lived in a small village in Africa. And this wise old guy, okay, and I want your listeners to picture this. This really wise guy, he would wear his white robe and he had this white beard, and he would go right outside of his village every single day and sit outside underneath a tree. And he was philosopher type. He was really wise, and he would sit there and he would think. He would sit there and think and watch people walk by, and he would just think things through. And one day, as he's thinking, a traveler comes by and says, excuse me, sir, if I was to go into your village, what kind of people will I run into your village? And he said, this old wise man said to him, that's an interesting question. What kind of people have you come across in your travels? And this traveler said to him, Campbell, well, I've met old people that are foolish. I've met young people that are just mean and they're thieves. I've met, overall, the people I've met are negative, and they have a really negative mindset. The old man looked at this young traveler for a second, and he said, well, those are the same type of people you're going to find in my village. And this traveler just kept going. And another traveler came by, asked the man the same question. And the man asked this traveler the same question, what kind of people have you come across in your travels? And this young man said, well, sir, I've met old people that are healthy and strong. I've met young people that are wise and caring and loving. And overall, I've met people that are good, kind, and they have positive mindset, and they have a positive outlook in everything they do. And they always look for the lessons and the opportunities in all the adversities in life. And this old wise man looked at this young man and said, welcome. Those are the same type of people you're going to find in my village. And there ends my story. See, whatever that story means to your listeners and your unconscious mind is perfectly fine. However, the meaning I'm giving to that story is that whatever you look for, you will find. You find what you look for. So if you're looking for a reason not to get into because you've been burned, blah, 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 instead, that's a crappy question. Oh, I don't want to go into because, or why did this happen to me? That's a victim question. Instead, it's a victim question. Instead, you should be asking, what's my lesson here? Because Napoleon Hill says, in every Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says, in every adversity lies an equal to or better than opportunity. In every adversity lies an equal to or better than opportunity. That simply means that in every problem and every challenge that you encounter in life, there's lessons, right? And that's where wisdom is built, right? Wisdom is an accumulation of experiences and lessons, either your own or other people's experiences.
Yeah.
That if you take the time, right? This is what I teach my students, is if you take the time. So I have a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet with all of my real estate. This is just to show you this is how I live, right? I have a spreadsheet with all of my real estate. So from the time I start with a deal, from the time I close it, so date closed, address, right? Strategy, right? Clarity, because remember what I said, clarity is power. Strategy,
right?
Strategy, address, whatever. And then if I'm burying it or if I'm flipping it, whatever. And then at the very last column, all right, I put my cash flow, I put my numbers. What's my cash flow? Who's the bank? You know, at the very last column is the most important column. And it's lessons learned, right? And in this column, I sit down at the end, after I take that deal full circle, I sit down on my computer and I write my lessons learned. What did I learn? You know, I looked at it the other day. I shared it with a student last weekend, as a matter of fact. And
Mm-hmm.
I was looking through it. I was sharing it with him. And one of my lessons learned and one of my flips was, believe it or not, was fire my contractor faster. When I saw this, I caught one of my contractors smoking weed in one of my places. I went on a Sunday years ago. This happened years ago.
Uh-huh.
But because he was a friend, I didn't fire him. Lesson: don't do business with friends. It's business, right? It's business. I should have fired him. I didn't fire him. Lesson learned, right? I didn't lose money. I didn't lose money in the deal, but there was lessons there for me. Was that an adversity? Hell yeah. He went over like 12 weeks over my deadline on a flip. And a flip, time is everything, right? Timing is super
Right.
important in a flip. Every time I have a vacant property, I'm losing money. So lessons, right? Looking for the lessons, documenting the lessons. That what happens is you start training your brain. That's a muscle, right? You start training your brain. That's a mindset muscle. You start training your brain that in every experience in life, you start looking for your lessons. How can I get better? How can I get
Yeah.
better? And what your brain starts to do is, here's where the wisdom comes in, is that now I could be 2 or 3 years down the road and I could be doing something totally different. And my mind, remember, I'm a mindset strategist, so I understand how the mind works and your unconscious mind works. Your unconscious mind, because you wrote it down somewhere, you took the time to force and ask that question, where's my opportunity, what's my lesson, right?
Right.
And you're doing something else. And all of a sudden, you're doing a business deal, something totally irrelevant, or you're with your boss or something. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, you see a behavior or you see a pattern in that thing or that situation you're in. That's like your mind tells you immediately, oh, snap. Remember, this pattern looks a lot like that situation. Red flag, ask different question. Do this. This looks a lot like it. So start
Mm-hmm.
paying closer attention and ask these questions. That's wisdom. You start accumulating experiences and knowledge from your own experiences and from Candle's experiences. Right? So
Right.
learning from my coach, learning from my mentor told me this. Well, I heard this. Wow, I experienced this and I wrote this down. This looks a lot like it. Let me be careful. What does this mean?
Right.
It looks a lot like this. Let me tread lightly here because maybe I need to ask this question that I didn't ask over here. I need to ask that up front, and boom, there it shows up.
Wow.
Right? There it shows
Wow.
up. So that story shares the importance of looking for what you find you look for.
Mm-hmm.
So while you may be in pain, you remember how I shared with you how my mom kicked me out? That was painful. And I was
Yeah.
resentful. I was resentful. I was so resentful to my mom that when I got married at 25, my mom was not invited to my wedding because I was so resentful. I didn't speak to my mom for years. Stupid kid. It was a stupid move. I would never do that. It is what it is. It's where I was in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And today, I look back at that experience, as painful as it was for me. And I look at my mom, and here was a single woman trying to raise a man, not knowing any better. She didn't know what I know. She didn't know she didn't have the time to pick up
Yeah.
a book and learn and read and grow,
Yeah.
right? What does she know, right? She was doing the
Right.
best she could. When you understand
Yeah.
that people are doing the best they can with
Yes,
the
they
resources
can.
that they have, you
Yep.
start to have more empathy with people. And
Absolutely.
today, I look back, Handle, and I look back at the experience and I say, without my mom doing what she did, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Without that experience, I wouldn't be the man. I wouldn't have the strength to be the breadwinner for my family, to be the man that's self-sufficient, that takes care of it. Wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to teach my kids the lessons that I teach my kids about being
Yeah.
self-sufficient and being, taking care of themselves. So that one thing that was so painful when I was so painful, I tell you, it was so painful sleeping in the street,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that your mom doesn't love you. These are all the stupid thoughts I used to have. Not stupid, these are natural thoughts. I reject those thoughts, but these are all the immature thoughts I used to have.
Right.
I was focusing so much on the pain instead of looking for the opportunity and looking at my lessons. How can I grow? How can I get better? How can I get better? Right. And I was in a way, because I did get better. I graduated high school. I did all these things. And, here I am today. It's also
Mm-hmm.
a mindset, but I didn't know I was doing that. Right. That was
Right.
just a competitive mindset in me. I'm going to show them. I was using that. I'm going to show the world that I can. And right.
Right.
Right. Ego. There goes the ego when you're young, the ego.
The ego.
There goes the
Yeah.
ego. I was doing it ego, right?
Yeah.
But now today, as I'm older and I'm wiser, I look back and I'm like, and I thank my mom, and I'm like, Mom, thank you. I know that you did the best you can, and without that, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I want you to know
Mm-hmm.
you made this man. Without that, I wouldn't be able to be a strong man and to be the man of my house, to be the leader of my house, to be the leader for my kids, right? So
Right.
today I'm grateful for it, right? But if it's because I looked for the opportunity and the lessons within the adversity.
That's awesome.
Right?
That is
You
awesome.
got to find, you got to, and let me tell you, Kendall, and some people might be listening and saying, well, that's easy for you to say. I know that's easy for me to say. It took me years. It's a muscle you build.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I built this muscle. It's a muscle. It's a muscle I built. And let me tell you, it doesn't stop. It's a muscle you keep exercising. It's a muscle you keep exercising.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit
Yeah.
about my rituals, about your rituals and things like that,
Yeah. That's what I
right?
want to get to next. Yeah. What is your daily ritual?
And it's part of my daily ritual is that, right? So my
Mhm.
daily ritual is turned into something a little bit more rigorous now. I'm usually up around 5:30, 6 o'clock. First thing I'm doing, getting my coffee, and then I'm sitting down and I'm meditating for 10 minutes, right? Just quieting the mind intentionally. I have an app I use and I meditate for 10 minutes. And then immediately after that, I sit on my desk and I go to I have this journal where I have my goals for the year, and then I have my quarterly goals. And then I have my rocks for my quarterly goals. So we're January 16th today. So
Mhm.
they go every 15 days. So last night, I was measuring my quarterly where I was, my rocks, right, to reach my goals. And I look at that calendar for January and I look at where I'm at. And then I create and I start with the first thing I start with on the journal is my gratitude. Three or four things I'm grateful for. And then
Right.
from there, I go to my top goals. Again, where your focus goes, your energy flows, results show. I write those down every morning, my top goals, right?
Mhm.
Top goals. And then from there, I ask myself there's a question in my journal of what are the top 10 activities I have to do to get to those goals. See, I'm focusing my energy, my brain on my goals, gratitude, my goals, and then the activities I need to do today to get to those goals.
Yeah.
And then lastly, the last question is, what am I stuck on that I need to get unstuck from?
That is a
That's
good
a
one.
powerful question. What am
That's
I
a good
stuck
one.
on that I need to get unstuck from? Right.
Yeah.
And it just forces me to think, what am I stuck on? Because, sometimes we don't see what we don't see. And if we don't take the time to ask this type of question,
Yeah.
you won't move forward, right? You won't make the next play. But anyways, after I'm done with that, then I take it's everything it's kind of regimented a little bit in the morning. I take my
Mhm.
pills, my vitamins. I take my
Mhm.
vitamins, and then I go down to the gym, to my basement to work out for 40 minutes, and then my day starts from there. So I take care of me first. I'm very, very selfish with my morning. Extremely selfish. If my mornings are mine, because I only have control of the mornings and nights. When I get
Yeah.
in the office, then the calls of this, the that, the property managers, everyone starts to try to pull you different ways. But I took care of me first. I can't be the best husband. I
Yeah.
can't be the best businessman. I can't be the best father. I can't be the best friend if I'm not the best for me first. I can't give what I
Absolutely.
don't have. If
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have it, I can't give it. So
Yeah.
I got to take care of me first.
Yeah. That's amazing. When I started in real estate sales, I had this passion planner, and I would highlight like everything I did was a different color. So like for pink, it would be real estate sales. For green, it'd be closings, or it would be going to a listing. And my yellow was my me time. And I remember going to my therapist at the time, and she was like, Kendall, let me see your planner, because I'm really organized. That's the former teacher in me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't see any yellow. She's just going through sheet after sheet. There's no yellow. I never made any time for me.
Mm.
And then this year was the first time. I'm a big TD Jakes fan. And it was one of his sermons, and he was talking about just for 21 days, just change it and let's see if it changes your life. So I said, okay, I'm going to be selfish, just like you said. And I have been extremely selfish. First thing in the morning, I'm up listening to all my motivational songs that are downloaded. And I'm writing in my planner, and I have it right here. And it has all the things that you just said. And it's like a
Mm.
passion planner. and it
Yeah.
has like your daily challenges, everything you
I
got to
love
do. And
it.
I tell you, it has changed the
Changes your life.
game.
Yep. Changes your life.
It,
Changes your life. Yeah. It changes your life.
yes, it
I,
changes your life.
It changes your life. It changes the way you think. It's a muscle. You start training and
Yeah,
building that muscle, Oh, one
yeah.
thing I forgot to say is immediately after I finish meditating, because I do guided meditation, is I pray. So I sit there and
Mhm.
pray and then my prayers are very just thankful. God, thank you. Just thank you for
Yeah,
the blessings. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just thanking you for me being here, for the
yeah.
opportunity, for just everything I've done. So just thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think in that gratitude, like you mentioned about the scarcity mindset, when you start your day off with gratitude, you realize that there is no lack of anything. It's
That's
nothing
right.
but abundance.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's life changing. So if your listeners are there, listen. What I tell my students is, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's you don't create a new habit.
Hmm.
So here's what you don't do: you don't start a new year and say, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to lose whatever pounds you want to lose, right? And then you go to the gym and you're in the gym for 2 hours every morning. Let me tell you something. That's not sustainable long term. That's not how you start.
Yeah.
That's the wrong way to do it. The way you create a new habit is if you want to stop doing something, because there's things we're doing, there's things that we need to start doing, and there's things that we need to stop doing to get to our goals. Those three things. You need to know what you need to start doing, and you need to know what you need to stop doing,
Yeah.
right, to get to your goals. And
Right.
the way you do and create a new habit is you start small and then there's a book by Darren Hardy, something habits, the compound effect.
Oh, the
Compound
compound effect. My baby. I
compound
love this
effect.
book.
So Darren Hardy, as you know, talks about you start small
Uh-huh.
increments. You don't go crazy. So if you want to start meditating because you hear meditation is good, whatever, or you want to start even just praying, you don't start by you know, doing it for 40 minutes every morning. That's not how you start. You don't start going to the gym for 2 hours every day. That's not how you start. You start by linking your habits. So if you brush your teeth
Hmm.
every morning, you're gonna say, okay, right after I brush my teeth, I'm going to sit down and meditate for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Everyone has 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes. Wake up 3 minutes earlier. You got 3 minutes. I'm gonna meditate for 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna go to my journal. Right after I meditate, I'm gonna go to my journal and write three things that I'm grateful for today. That's it. Three
That's
things.
it.
That's it. And then close, boom, done. You're off to your day. And then do 10 push-ups if that's what you want. Right? The 10 push-ups, boom, that's it. You do that, you start building the momentum there. You start doing it small. That whole thing will take you 10 minutes. 3 minutes
Yeah.
meditating, 2 minutes writing three things, 10 push-ups or 20 push-ups, you're off to your day. New habit.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it's natural and you're doing it continuously, and then you start adding, and then you
Yeah.
start expanding your ritual. You don't start it by, oh, I'm going to model Martin's ritual, I'm going to model Candle's ritual, I'm going to do everything they're doing, because we've been doing this for a long time. I've been working on myself for a long time. It's going to take you
Small doses. Yeah.
small doses.
Yeah.
You get there, you build it in small doses.
Yeah. And it's that what you said, that pain, it creates the change.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
it's,
That's
it's
it.
Nothing ever changes unless there's enough pain.
Yeah. Yeah. So Martin, how can we find you?
One of the ways you can find me is you can check out my podcast, Latinos in Real Estate Investing Podcast. By the way, it's in
Yes,
English.
let's talk about that. We got to talk about that
Yeah.
podcast.
It's
Okay, one. Okay, what is the title of your podcast?
Latinos in Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Latinos in Real Estate Investing Podcast. How did you create this and why did you create this?
So my purpose, again, very clear. Everything I do is driven from the purpose of my life, my why, right? The purpose of my life is to empower others to be their best versions, as well as be my absolute best version, right? So I
Hmm.
do my ritual and all that stuff, to create generational wealth and to impact the world in a positive way with that wealth. So it's not just for me, it's also to serve others.
Right.
That's my purpose. It's really that simple. It's my purpose. So when I'm a teacher like you, right? It's in my heart to teach and help and empower. It's my purpose, empower others to be their best version. So
Right.
I started this podcast because I realized that no one really was talking to the Latino market. No one was really talking to the first generation Latinos. I was born here. I'm first generation born here in this country, and no one's really teaching. And in the Latino market, it's people, we're trained, and so is the African American market, is we're trained to believe that you got to work hard, and that this is what I heard, at least. You got to work hard to make money, and you got to either get a degree. And there's not, I have nothing against people with degrees by all means, right? I don't have one. That's okay. But I am proof to show you that you don't need one to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And whatever you do, it's in your mindset. It's how much you work on yourself, the education you get, right? I may not have a formal degree, but I am educated. I know that. So I started the podcast to help and empower people, to give people strategies, to give people, to educate them, to bring other guests, and where they can see that, hey man, this person's just like me. I had you in my show, kindergarten teacher, went real estate investor. Hey, come on now, right? People can relate to that.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's a beautiful thing. This thing, there's opportunities for everyone, but it starts first. I'm really, really big on mindset, as you probably can tell, right?
Yeah.
Big on mindset. So I'm constantly, people come to my meetups, right? Or they'll come to my real estate investors meetup. And I'll share this quick story with you. I had a guy, it was one of my students, two of my students. I'm always telling people, you got to show up. Opportunities. If you don't show up, guys, Kendall and I were talking about earlier about the 5 people. How do you find these people? So we talked about, first you got to read, and then you got to start showing up, right? Because that's one of the answers. Show up. Where are we? Where are you and I? People like you and I, you know where we are? I'm going to tell you where we are. We are at seminars. We're at workshops. That's where you're going to find us. Successful people are constantly getting better, because successful people are constantly looking for better ways to do things. Successful people are constantly looking to get better. So you want to find out how you network, and you change your circle, and you start hanging out with people making 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever, is you need to start showing up to these places. You need to start figuring out, hey, Kendall, what's the next seminar you're going to? Where are you going? Where are you hanging?
Yeah. And then now everything is virtual. So you could be anywhere.
What's the next thing? Where are you going? What are you reading? What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Modeling.
Yeah.
You gotta. I started this to help people. So people come to my meetups, and they're like, I had this guy. Back to my story. I had this guy. He comes to my meetup, and people come and they think I'm gonna just give him skills. I'm just gonna give him real estate skills. And what they find is that I use an 80-20 rule, even in my teachings. 80% mindset, 20% skill set equals 100% success. So they come to my meetup, and what I do is I spend 80% of my time giving them, changing the route, working on their mindset, and then I spend 20% of my time giving them skill set, because I could give you all the skill set you want, but if you are self-sabotaging and you have limiting beliefs, it doesn't matter. You're not going to take action. Yeah. Right? You're not going to take action. It doesn't matter. You can know all the information, all the strategies in the world, but if you haven't worked on you first, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's going to be great information in your head and not in your pocket or in your family, right? So this guy came to my meetup, and he was like, the first meetup, Martin, I went, he was like, I saw you and you were talking about mindset. And I was like, okay. Then the second time, same time, mindset. He was like, by the third time I went, I started asking myself, why the hell does this guy keep talking about mindset? He literally told me, one of my students, right? Why the hell does that talk about mindset, right? This is a gentleman that spent $40,000 with Fortune Builders to get an education and had not done a deal yet.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. He just wanted to get to the money.
Yep. He hadn't. So he goes, by the 4th time I went there, he was like, his mindset started, his unconscious mind, all the work he's been coming, started asking a different question. He started saying, shoot, maybe it's my mindset that hasn't allowed me to get a deal yet. Yeah. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's, I got to look inside. Because he had all the strategies, he had all the skills. He knew all the stuff I knew. Right. He hadn't done a deal. Right. So he decided to bring me on as a coach. He showed up to one of my goal-setting events. He met a doctor. His limiting belief was no money. I said, who the hell says you need your money? Met a doctor at one of my events. They became partners. She had the money. He had the skills. They became partners. And last year, they closed 9 doors. They have 9 apartments. Oh. Right? Nice. And he tells me, dude, it was my mindset the whole time. He's like, it was my perspective. It was like that traveler, right? What he was looking for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, to find me, you can find me. You can find me. I'm on social media. I'm on. You can check out my group. I have a group, Elite Strategies, on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. Look up the Elite Strategist on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, the Elite Strategist. Stroudsburg, www.stroudsburgrei.com. I have a wholesale course. You can go there. I have a bunch of content. If any of your listeners are looking to invest passively, I also do syndications. So
Nice.
we just closed on a 72-unit apartment building where we give investors above average returns. That particular deal is giving a return of 18% average annual return on people's money. We're doubling people's
Nice.
money. And the business plan is a 5-year business plan. We refi in 3 years, get our investors all their money back, and then we sell it in year 5. And that's when the big payday happens. So overall, with the cash flow and everything, they double their money.
Mhm.
So minimum investment of 50, get 100 back within 5 years. So I'm doing syndications. You could go to stroudsburgrei.com, look at partners with us. I educate you there. My partner and I have a little video there, but we educate
Okay.
you on what syndication is. You can just go to that website. I have a ton of content there. My podcast is there. I mean,
Yeah, and we'll have all of this on the website, lightinguprealestate.com.
perfect. Yeah.
Access to your website and of course your meetups, your
Yes.
courses,
Yeah. Yeah.
the podcast, everything will be there.
Yeah. My meetups are also we've been doing them virtual. You know, I went to a meetup just this week, and it was 5 of us because I'm a live guy. I love the energy of being. I love being around people, and
Yeah.
it was 5 of us. And I was telling them, we never stopped. Like when COVID happened, we stopped and we went immediately. We pivoted because I was asking for my opportunity. Again, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this with you once again. When COVID happened in March,
Uh-huh.
I was on a cruise, right? I was the first week in March, my whole family, me, my wife, my kids, my daughter-in-law, we were on a cruise. And I kept getting, you're on a cruise, you don't get really good reception. And I didn't really care. I
Mhm.
was just having a good time with my family, right? So I got to Mexico and I got a text from one of my students, this young man, this gentleman I told you about. He texted me, "Hey man, be careful. The world is on fire back home." And I'm in Mexico. No one's wearing masks. No one's having a good time. I'm like, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So he thought I wasn't going to be able to get back. So we get back on the cruise. They tell us, guys, we're the last cruise. That's it. Carnival is going to be closed for 90 days after this cruise when we get back. Then they start telling us the real deal. Like we're in the ocean heading back the next morning.
Like you had no idea.
I
You
had
really
no
did
idea.
not know.
I had no idea. We knew
Whoa.
because in February, my assistant was like, "You're going to go on a cruise." I was like, "Dude, I don't live in fear." Again, it's a
Yeah.
mindset.
It's a
Like,
mindset. Yeah.
it's a mindset. I was like, "Dude, I'm going and having my fun. I'm going to go. My
Mhm.
family plan for this. We're excited. I don't live in fear. That's something I don't do. Right?
Right.
I've trained my mind to look for the opportunities, not
Mhm.
for what's bad. My mind does that naturally. So when everybody was telling me you're going, I was like, "Yeah, we're going." My wife, we were like, "Yep, we're out. We're going." So we're there, but it wasn't that bad, right? We
Mhm.
get back on the cruise. They tell us how bad it is. We're the last cruise. Now the fear starts to fear. People start getting scared in the boat, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a boat. There was that boat that was just roaming, whatever, that
Yeah.
never was able to dock." I was like, whatever, right? I was like, okay, fine. That's not going to be us. But when they did that, you know what I did immediately? Like when they
What?
told us, they announced it, right? The thing. I remember I was in the room, and my first inkling was, I got up and I said to my wife, "I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go think," right? Like
Mhm.
that wise man, right? So I'm gonna go think. I'll be back. I'm gonna go work out because I need to get my body, my nervous system going. Because I know that once I change my physiology, then it lights up my brain to think better.
Mhm.
So I went upstairs and I started working out. Right. And I had an unconscious, and it wasn't also conscious and unconscious. I was like, I know if I'm healthy and I'm strong, I'm gonna be fine. If I take care of my body, my tempo, I'm gonna be fine. Right. I take my vitamins every morning and I take care of myself.
Right.
So, and then immediately after I finished working out, you know what I did? I started walking around in the top deck in
Mhm.
circles, like for an hour. And you know what my question was? I kept asking myself, where's my opportunity in this? Where's my opportunity? Everyone's scared in this boat. I'm not scared.
Right.
Napoleon Hill tells me in every adversity lies an equal to or better than opportunity. Where's my opportunity? And I was wrong, and I was just walking, asking that question. Where's my opportunity? Where's my opportunity? Where's my opportunity? And I came back home. We were able to get back home. We flew back home. All the whole works. And then the bill came out. The stimulus bill came out, and it was 880 pages. I have it printed in my office back here, 880 pages. And I read that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I read that whole entire thing, and I started educating people on how to get access to the PPP money because I remembered, because I'd taken the time to think and ask myself, what did I learn in the last recession in 2008? What did I do
Right.
wrong? And what will I do differently? And why were people
Absolutely.
making money and I wasn't? I was hurting. First thing I learned was I was looking at the news. I was paying attention to the wrong crap.
Mm-hmm.
And fear mongering.
Absolutely.
I said, I'm not doing that this time. I said, there were bills and stuff that I did not educate myself on. I'm not doing that this time. I'm going to read. I'm going to educate myself.
Wow.
But that was because I forced it's a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already built that muscle. So when the adversity came and everyone was panicking, immediately my mind went to opportunity. Where is it? When everyone's fearful, be aggressive is what Warren Buffett says, right?
Right.
So immediately my brain said, boom, where is it? Look for it. Where is it? Where is
Mm-hmm.
it? And that's what I did. I just started looking for it. So I went to this meetup, and there was 4 of them. And we had in February in our meetup, we had about 80 people at our last February live, right?
Right.
And it was a great meetup. We had an attorney there talking about LLCs and asset. I had a commercial broker training on how to evaluate a commercial deal, an apartment building and stuff. It was really good stuff. And I was training mindset. And then March came and we had nothing. And I immediately said, we're going to go virtual. Immediately I pivoted. Immediately, because I was looking for it.
The opportunities.
I said, we're going to go virtual. We're going to go virtual. So we went virtual March. We went virtual April. We made March, April, May, June, and then July in Pennsylvania, the governor said you could meet 25 people. Immediately after he said that, we went live. And when we went live, we had about 30 people in July.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the middle of COVID, July, we had 30 people at our first event live back. But then we pivoted and I said, okay, now I'm gonna do it virtually and in person. So the in-person event, I'm gonna have my camera and I'm gonna have a Zoom so people can access us around the world. So I found the opportunity. We just grew.
Right.
So I went to an event, a live event, about 60 miles from here. One of my colleagues, another investor, and he emailed me. He was like, "Oh, I was like, I'll be there, dude. I want to support you guys." And there was 5 of us, and I said, "Bro, it's only 5 of us," and no one was in a Zoom call. And he was like, "Yeah, man, we're trying to get back." And then right then and there, I realized what we did right and what they didn't do right. They just stopped. They went in fear mode, and they just and we just kept going. We figured out a way to make it work.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great story. Yeah, because and every investor that I've talked to, because I started this podcast during COVID, right in the beginning of COVID, I'm like, I see an opportunity. If I can't be around investors, let me start talking to them. Let me create a podcast. And every one of them have said that they've seen nothing but opportunity through COVID. It's our mindset.
Mindset, because they're looking for it. But there's a lot of people out there that are, in fear. And listen, I lost my father-in-law to COVID, so I'm not downplaying it. But I am making a conscious decision not to live in fear. I'm making a conscious decision to take care of myself, to strengthen my immune system, to be wise. But I'm not going to live in fear. Period. And no disease is going to take me. Not that if it's going to take me, it's because it's God's will. But I'm not going to be walking around here, with fear. That's not. I reject to live in that way. That's not how I live. That's not why my God put me on this earth for. I was put here to enjoy everything to the fullest. Absolutely everything. All the wonderful things this world's got to offer. That's what God put me here, to enjoy it all. And I want to enjoy everything.
So let me ask you, so whenever that thought of that fear tries to get into you, what do you do immediately? You just snap back.
Good question. Really good question. So there's a strategy I teach, and I'm not wearing my band, but I'll give you the strategy, okay?
Okay.
To condition. So this is a neural condition. I know we kind of went over in time.
You're fine.
I'm respectful of your time. So there's something I teach in my events, and it's called neuro conditioning. Have you ever heard? You're a teacher, so you probably heard of this. Pavlov, the scientist, a Russian scientist. Okay, so you know about the dogs, right? So
I know about the dogs.
So, and I'll share this with your listeners just in case they don't know. There's a scientist that he shares. He found he had two dogs, and he would ring a bell, the doorbell, and every time he'd ring the doorbell, the dogs would run to the door, and he would give them a piece of steak. He ring the doorbell, the dogs ran to the door, he'd give them a piece of steak. What do you think happened after 4 or 5 times of him doing that? When he rang the doorbell, they would run to the door. He opened the door and they would be salivating, expecting what? A piece of
Steak.
steak, because he've already
Mm-hmm.
trained them and conditioned them that way. Well, we're not much different than that. Believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
we're not much different than that. So when you have pain, right, is what does what? Causes change,
Change.
right?
Yeah.
Pain causes change. So there's a strategy I use that I teach my students, and it's whenever you have those fear thoughts. See,
Mm-hmm.
and fearful thoughts are natural. Okay, again, it's a muscle. Fearful thoughts are natural. We inherited it from our ancestors millions of years ago. When our ancestors were roaming the earth, we were constantly scoping out the land to see if there was a saber-toothed tiger coming to kill us or something.
Right.
We were living in cave. We were living in the open, in the wildness, in the wilderness, right? We constantly had to be looking for what's bad, for what's bad. So
Right.
guess what? You and I inherited that from them,
Right.
constantly looking for what's bad. Why? To self-preserve.
Yeah. Protection.
Self-preserve is the first thing. So COVID and the media are telling us, COVID, 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 COVID. So you inherently, naturally, are like, oh my gosh, I got to protect myself. I got to do this, I got to do that, right? But the thing is this, guys, there is no more saber-toothed tiger trying to kill us. So what does our brain do? Our brain now, if I'm walking down the street and I see Candle's a good friend of mine, and I'm walking down Main Street here, and I see Candle, and I'm like, oh, there's Candle, and I'm excited to say hi to Candle, and she just
Mm-hmm.
walks right by me, or I text her and she doesn't text me back, and she walks
Mm-hmm.
right by me. What's the first thing we think naturally? We start thinking, oh shoot,
Yeah.
what did I do? Do I smell
What did
bad?
I
What did
do?
I do?
Yeah.
Did I hurt her feeling? Did I text her something wrong? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what did I do? That's where your brain automatically
Yeah.
tips you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here's the strategy that you can do is you can ask a different question. Instead of what did I do, you can ask, what else does this mean? What else could this mean? Right? That's a
Ah.
pattern interrupt question. What
Yeah.
else could this mean? Could it be that Candace just lost her dog and she couldn't see you, or she's in her own head because she's sad
Yeah.
she just lost her dog? Could it be that Candle just got some news that something happened to a loved one and she's so screwed up and she's so sad and she's so,
Yeah.
could it be that? Could it be that something's going on with her life?
Yeah.
Yes. You see, that question automatically pattern interrupts that thought, and it
Mm-hmm.
changes your focus in a different direction to look for a
Yeah.
different answer. So that's one thing. You ask a different question. The next strategy I'm going to teach you is you ask that question, what else could this mean? So you're feeling fear for whatever reason, because sometimes we have been conditioned and we've been doing the negative belief thinking for so long
Yeah.
that we don't even hear the voice in our head. You don't even hear the voice in our head. But you know who never lies to you? Your body never lies to you. If you're driving
Mm-hmm.
down the street, all of a sudden you feel this feeling in your stomach like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
why do I feel like this? Why am I scared right now? There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
here. Like, why am I? And all of a sudden you feel this feeling. And whenever you feel that feeling, or you hear the thought of, I'm not good enough and I reject this. And you hear me say, you've heard me say, I reject this for you. I'm
Yeah.
sending an unconscious command to your unconscious mind to reject that, to
Mm-hmm.
reject, which is all going to tie in right now. Is I'm going to tell you, go get a rubber band, put it
Mm-hmm.
in your, put it around your wrist. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And I have a rubber band that I actually give to my students. It says, I reject that, cancel, delete. Thank you for sharing. I reject that. And what you do is, whenever you have a negative thought and you hear yourself,
Yeah.
take the rubber band and you expand it out and you spank yourself. Pain, right? Pain. And what you're doing, and when you do that and it hits your wrist, you automatically say out loud, thank you for sharing. I reject that. So you're starting to train your unconscious mind that anytime they have a fearful or unwarranted negative thought, it's going to cause pain. 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 And what happens is over time, your unconscious mind, because your primary thing is to protect yourself and self-preserve. Over
Yeah.
time, that thought that keeps popping up, or that fearful thought, your unconscious mind is going to say, wait a minute, we don't like pain, because pain causes what? What does pain do?
It causes
Causes
change.
change, right? We don't like pain. So what happens is over time, your unconscious mind is going to say, wait a minute, every time I think this is painful. Let me stop saying that crap,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's what happens. Then you start conditioning. It's called neural conditioning. You start conditioning your own mindset to start looking for better thoughts, right? More positive thoughts, more empowering, more encouraging thoughts. And the disencouraging thoughts start to dwindle down, and the more encouraging thoughts start to come up,
Wow. Do you
right?
know how much you saved me in therapy right now?
You're welcome.
That was priceless. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Again,
Wow.
and so you know, your listeners might ask, well, where did you learn that? Well, you know where I learned that? Going to seminars, going to work. This is where
That's good.
successful people are. Guys,
Yeah.
you want to change your circle? Change your circle. Go hang out where we hang out.
Yep.
It's that simple. You want to be an
Mhm.
investor? Go to RIA meetups. Go start going to real estate investors meetup. That's where we are.
That's where we are.
You want to learn how we think? Start asking questions.
Ask the questions. You see how I just asked that question
Yeah.
and I saved so many people's lives right now? You ask
Yeah.
the questions.
And let me tell
Wow.
you,
Thank
people,
you.
and a lot of people, I teach this to my students and I give it away for free because I like to contribute
Mhm.
to the law of prosperity. We talked about that yesterday. The law of
Mhm.
prosperity. I know that if I help others prosper, I in turn will prosper because that's the law of
Yeah.
prosperity. If I contribute to
Yeah.
the law, and a lot of my students, a lot of my students pay to get that training, to get that. They come and spend a day with me, and I work on their mindset, and I give them strategies and tools. That's why I say I'm a mindset strategist. I give them strategies, tools on how to break those patterns and pattern interrupt. It's your circle,
Yeah.
your thoughts, what you're doing, what you're reading, what you're putting into your mind. Stand guard. I'm going to leave you with
Mhm.
this. Stand guard at the door of your mind at all times.
Ooh.
Stand guard at the door of your mind at all times. I had one of my students said, my mom, I was driving with one of my students 2 days ago to that RIA meetup. One of my students, we jumped in the car, said, let's go to this meetup. He's a co-host and he's also a mentee. And I said to him, he goes like, my mom's so negative, this and that. I said, brother, I know you love your mom. And even your
Mhm.
mom, you have to stand guard in the door of your mind from your mom. I have another one.
That
My
is
student,
good.
even another one said to me, he takes care, he lives with his mom. His mom is
Mhm.
very, very negative and it continuously brings him down. And to him, I said, you can't give what you don't have. Even from your own mother, you have to stand guard in the door of your mind. You have to find a way to take care of mom, but you can't have that in your space. You got
Yeah.
to stand guard. Sometimes our own family members are
Mhm.
the ones that are bringing us down, and you have to be aware of that. You got to pay
Yeah.
attention to what is doing. Your body never lies to you.
Mhm.
Listen, your body never lies to you. You may not hear the voice sometimes, but your body never lies to you. Pay attention to how your body's feeling, your nervous system is responding when you're around that person. When that person is talking their venom and they're talking about gossip and they're doing this and they're doing that, and they're talking about how bad world is, dude, you gotta protect yourself from that. You cannot pay attention to what your body's doing. And if your body is feeling that feeling, you know that energy around that person is not good for you. You got to
Yeah.
stand guard at the door of your mind.
Yeah. Martin, I gotta have you come back. We get this was so incredible. Just this conversation on mindset. Yeah. This was so good. Enlightening.
Has nothing to do with real estate, does it?
Nothing.
So you
Nothing.
think, so people think it does, and it has everything to do with real estate if you want to be successful at it. Because
Right.
how your
Right.
perspective on how you deal with the problems is everything. You're gonna have tenants you're gonna evict. It's not if, it's when. You're gonna have tenants that are not gonna pay you. You're gonna have tenants that are gonna trash your place. It's not if, it's when.
When? Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
perspective? Are you looking for the lessons? Are you going to give up? Do you know your why? Is your why is that going to stop you from continuing to going to create financial freedom from you and your family? Do you
Yeah.
know why you're doing that?
This was incredible. Incredible. Oh wow. Thank you for being a light.
You're
Really.
welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah, you're coming back.
Yeah, so it'll be my pleasure. Just let me know when I'll come back. No problem.
To learn more about Martin, just go to lightinguprealestate.com. If you like this episode, subscribe, leave a review, share with others. That's all for now. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay lit.